25 South Soto Street. The new market occupies what used to be a Super A food store.
We run our business that is based more in value than only price. So we thought that it was a good opportunity to come here and serve the people of Boyle Heights.
The market provides fresh produce, an extensive meat selection, a hot food deli, and more grocery choices. This location is only the second supermarket in this area of Boyle Heights. Councilmember Jose Huizar says this store is a great partnership for the area.
It's providing 72 new jobs for the local community, and they actually recruited from around the neighborhood.
Founded in 1980, Northgate Gonzalez Market is family-owned and operated. This Boyle Heights location marks the company's 37th store.
We have 13 brothers and sisters running the business, plus we have now around 20 nieces, nephews, sons also helping run the store, plus the 4,500 family members. That's how we consider our associates.
I have family in Anaheim, and they told me that they have really good specials. So I would say, well, let's try it.
The market caters to the Latino community and operates in Los Angeles, Orange, and San Diego counties.
It's great, good food and everything, so it's a good thing they opened a store nearby.
And the new store is happy to service its customers. Northgate Gonzalez Market is open from 6 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. 7 days a week. From Boyle Heights, I'm Cindy San Luis for LA This Week.
A man remembered for his work on behalf of senior citizens is honored at an annual event, and this year he was remembered with the special musical tribute of sorts. Just hang up, that's the message behind this musical number performed on Claude Pepper Day. Each year, the Claude Pepper Senior Center hosts a celebration to honor the life and legacy of Claude Pepper, a staunch advocate for seniors during 41 years in Congress.
Made enormous contributions to the passage of Medicare and Medicaid in 1965, and authored the Age Discrimination Act and Discrimination Against the Aged in Employment Act, and was a tireless fighter.
The Senior Center in Crescent Heights was named after Pepper shortly after his death in 1989. Los Angeles has a new job training center in the San Fernando Valley. The facility is meant to help put young people in the state prison system on the path to a brighter future. Anita Bennett reports.
1, 2, 3.
Los Angeles leaders, including City Councilman Richard Alarcon, who represents this area, were among the first to tour the new Job Training and Opportunity Center in Pacoima.
This building is a commitment to the future, and that says that we recognize that we have more challenges coming. But now that we have this infrastructure in place, let's not let it die.
The facility will house caseworkers from the nonprofit group Community in Schools and workers from the probation department. The goal is to give young people on probation the tools to learn new skills.
We give up on some of these kids just too quickly, too easily, and don't commit ourselves to doing what we can to creating another path.
But that's changing with the Job Center, which was built on land donated by the county.
It's not a very fancy building, but it's a very functional building. And it's not important what the building looks like, although it looks pretty good. It's what's going to go on inside and the kinds of successes that are going to be produced inside that building.
The 5,000 square foot facility has a computer room and several other classrooms. It was once a mule farm for the county fire department, but the building is now a beacon of hope for at-risk young people. I'm Anita Bennett for LA This Week.
The $1.2 million center was made possible with financial help from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Councilwoman Jan Perry helped mark the 20th anniversary of the California Charter Schools Association at City Hall. Charter school educators were on hand for the special recognition of the milestone. This year, LA County had the largest charter school growth ever with 40 new schools. The mission of charter schools is to give parents and students high-quality public education with more academic choices.
Today, charter schools account for the education of nearly 110,000 students in nearly every community across Los Angeles. For over 20 years, these schools have collectively helped close the achievement gap and successfully graduated students ready to succeed in college and in life.
The California Charter Schools Association serves more than 1,000 schools and close to 500,000 students throughout California. A pension reform measure falls short of making it onto the May ballot, a victory for residents as the city rezones 20 acres of land as open space, and the mayor creates a cabinet focused on LA's transportation priorities. These stories and more in City Beat. Former LA Mayor Richard Riordan has scrapped efforts to get a measure on the May 21st ballot that would overhaul the city's pension system. Riordan's plan would move new city hires to 401k-style retirement accounts they would have to contribute to instead of the current pension system. The plan was met with fierce resistance and criticism from city employee unions. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa also said Riordan's pension reform plan went too far. Riordan's Save Los Angeles campaign gave up on getting the measure on the May ballot after determining it could not meet a self-imposed December 28th deadline to collect the needed petition signatures. One of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives since 2009, Jose Joe Luis Sens, was arrested Thanksgiving following a joint operation with the Mexican government. The 37-year-old was wanted in connection with 3 murders, that of 2 gang rivals and that of his own girlfriend, whom authorities say threatened to turn him in for the gang killings. Sens was returned from Guadalajara, Mexico to Los Angeles Thanksgiving weekend under FBI escort. The LA City Council has voted to rezone 57 parcels of land on Elephant Hill in El Sereno as open space. The ordinance, introduced by Councilman Jose Huizar, guarantees protection of 20 acres of land that the community fought to protect. In November of 2009, the City Council voted to settle with the developer and purchase the land outright, ending more than 2 decades of struggle. The City Council later voted to sell 5 acres of the land to the Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority, or MRCA, which is going to create a walking trail on site for visitors. Now that the land has been rezoned, the purchase can be finalized with the MRCA. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa has issued an executive order calling on the city's general managers to create the Los Angeles Transit Corridors Cabinet, or TCC. TCC will serve as a central entity to ensure all city departments and agencies coordinate their efforts to bring about a more transit-oriented Los Angeles. In a statement released by his office, the mayor says the goal is to provide Angelenos of all income levels access to quality transportation, housing, and job opportunities. Art at Olvera Street is nothing new, but this art is finally seeing the light of day after decades in the dark. Ana Marcos takes us to the America Tropical Festival to see what it's all about.
It's a folksy festival in honor of a folksy Mexican artist. The family-friendly gathering at Olvera Street helps to honor the unveiling of artist David Alfaro Siqueiros' masterpiece, America Tropical.
America Tropical was painted by David Alfaro Siqueiros to show the world that Los Angeles and the United States was the equal opportunity place in the world, except that at that time in space in history, the Mexicano and the Chicano and the Mexican American did not have those opportunities in this country.
Siqueiros' artwork often dealt with the plight of Mexico's working poor. He helped start Mexico's muralist movement, then came to America and painted America Tropical in Olvera Street in 1932. The mural, depicting an eagle and a Mexican tied to a cross with vines, was whitewashed and criticized for its political and social message. It was later uncovered and conserved by the Getty Conservation Institute.
The original one has the gold coming out of the beak, converting to a vine, and then getting the Mexicano y lo amarra. They don't let us grow. They don't let us create. So that's what he depicted.
Now visitors to Olvera Street can see the work that was kept from public view for so long and wonder at how far America has come in achieving equality for all and how far it still has to go. I'm Ana Marcos for LA This Week.
The event was produced by Community Arts Resources for the Getty Conservation Institute, a program aimed at engaging communities with culture and art. And in this week's list of things to do, a casino night themed holiday party that's for a good cause, a free dance performance at a local library, and a nature walk along the LA River. The Los Angeles Fire Department is hosting what it's calling the most wonderful time of the year party on Thursday, December 6th at the Exchange LA, located at 618 South Spring Street. Doors open at 6 p.m. The event benefits ABC7's Sparks of Love toy drive and is a 21 and over event with cocktails and appetizers. There will also be a casino night and prizes to be raffled off. All you have to do is bring a $20 donation or an unwrapped toy valued at $20. For ticket information, call 213-978-3649. Bonita Bikes Dance Art presents an interactive dance performance on Saturday, December 8th at 2 p.m. at the Lakeview Terrace Library at 12002 Osborne Street in Sylmar. Adults, children, and seniors will enjoy discovering the beauty and power of dance. This is a free performance supported in part by a grant from the City of Los Angeles Department of Cultural Affairs. For more information, call 818-353-5734. And if you're looking to connect with nature, take a nature walk along the LA River on Saturday, December 8th from 3 to 4 p.m. You'll get to look for local birds, discover native plants, and enjoy a relaxing afternoon in the great outdoors. The free program that's suitable for the young and old is sponsored by the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy and presented by the Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority. Meet at Marsh Park, located at 2960 Marsh Street in Elysian Valley. For details, call 213-250-1100. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. It's the kind of party that gives Sherman Oaks residents a good time while helping to support local businesses as well. Anna Marcos has the highlights from this year's Sherman Oaks Street Fair.
It calls itself LA's largest block party, and it just might be. Each year, blocks and blocks of businesses in Sherman Oaks open up the street for a big all-day party. The bash builds community spirit as well as economic activity.
This is a great fair. I've already walked several blocks, Bob, and this is what a community is all about. Participation.
This year, thanks to redistricting, the area has a new council member. Councilmember Tom LaBonge is no newcomer to the city, but this is his first gig as Grand Marshal for the event. And this is how he broke the ice.
I only dated girls from Van Nuys. I never got to date a girl from Sherman Oaks.
He may not have dated Sherman Oaks girls, but Tom LaBonge is honoring its top teachers with Teacher of the Year awards.
It's a great honor for all the hard work that myself and all teachers do to be recognized for our love and our passion for children.
Highland dancing, anyone? But if the Highland fling wasn't your style, how about a stress test? Plenty of businesses were marketing their wares on the sidewalk, and the kids seemed to really enjoy this critter corner, with everything from slow-moving tortoises to man's best friend.
Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore.
A little crooning as you ate your favorite meal didn't hurt. And then there was that bungee jump to help you work it off. These Sherman Oaks partiers plan to do it again next year. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The community event also helps to support local schools. And that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Just takes one cup.
Every year, thousands of children in our community drop out of school, they quit on their families, they give up on themselves. But together we can change that.
By sponsoring a child for the cost of 1 cup of coffee a week, you can provide a child with a mentor, a place to play,
and a safe haven like Hollenbeck Pal.
With 1 cup, I can play soccer after school.
With 1 cup, it helped me get here to college, preparing for my future.
It just takes a moment to change a child's life. Go to onecup.org and make a difference today.
I'm Kevin from Chatsworth, offering you a taste of New Orleans since 1986. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Good morning. Good morning. I want to welcome you to Los Angeles City Hall. The Los Angeles City Council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. or close to 10 a.m. So again, I want to welcome all of you here today. Mr. Clerk, I believe we have a quorum. If you would please call the roll.
Alarcon, Buscaino, Cardenas, Englander, Garcetti, Weezer, Correzco, Corrin, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Zion, Wesson. 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Weezer moves, Englander seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Buscaino moves, Garcetti seconds. That brings us where?
Mr. President, that brings us to our agenda. Before getting into it, the Office of Finance recommends that item 2B be received and filed inasmuch as the settlement agreement has been reached. And there is a request to continue item 31 to January 16, 2013. Again, January 16, 2013 for item 31.
Okay, without objection, that will be the order. Okay, please continue.
Very good, sir. Items 1 through 9 are items noticed for public hearing. We do have cards on items 2 and 9. 2 and 9, sir.
Okay, specials members. Hey, Billy.
Not yet, not yet.
Specials 1 through 9. Seeing none, let's hold the 2 items that were the public wants to comment on. Is prepared to vote on the remaining items. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next.
Mr. President, items 10 through 21 are items for which public hearings have been held. A committee report for item 10 has been circulated. However, a public hearing was not satisfied in committee.
Okay, so let's set that item aside. Members, Mr. Labange.
Special, please.
16 special for Mr. Labange. Bill, Mr. Rosendahl, did you want 16 as well? Okay, so Mr. Garcetti? Okay. Any other specials members? 21? So we'll hold item 10. Okay, there are no cards on items 10. So what are we holding?
We have the items
16 and 21?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, where are we now, Mr. Clerk?
That brings us to items 22 through 32. There are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, without objection, those items are now before us. Do we have cards?
Yes, sir, we do. We have cards on items 22, 24, 27, 30, and that's it, sir.
Mr. Labange.
Just want a brief report on 30 when it comes up. Thanks.
Okay, so we did hold 30. Okay, members, any specials? Okay, let's vote on the remaining items, Mr. Clerk. So, Madam Clerk, if you could open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next.
Mr. President, on the continuation agenda, item 33 is an item for which public hearing has been held.
Okay, specials on 30, or not specials. Does anybody wish to call 33 special? Okay, there are no cards. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That brings us where?
Mr. President, that takes council back to presentations, item called special or public comment for items not on council's agenda.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, we're going to now go to item 2, which was held by a member of the public. Kevin Bagley, are you here? Kevin Bagley, please come forward to the center microphone. We are on item 2. Come on, Mr. Bagley. To the center. You keep coming, Mr. Bagley, you'll get the hang of it. Anyway, welcome to the City Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Kevin Bagley. I'm an attorney from San Diego, and I represent Engstrom, Lipscomb, and Lack. The taxpayer has been assessed a business tax, and under a new ordinance adopted by the City Council, the city attorney can affirm to the Finance Commission that there are assets that could satisfy this assessment. And this is a law firm. It is the only tangible property it has is its equipment. So the only thing that the lien attaches to is the equipment. It doesn't attach to the accounts receivable, and the business is not in the business of selling anything. So it's unlikely that they're going to collect any revenue from the lien. Now, more importantly, my client has a legitimate dispute with the finance department. We have asked the city attorney and the Department of Finance to enter into settlement discussions, but so far they have been refused. We had a similar audit from 2004 to 2006, which resulted in an unreasonable assessment. We didn't pay it. The city attorney filed a lawsuit to reduce the assessment to judgment and collect on it. And then 2 or 3 years later, for reasons unknown, it dismissed the lawsuit on its own motion. So what we're asking for is that the city not rubber stamp the requirement that the city council determine whether the lien should be filed.
Okay, let's wait for a minute. Can I get a representative from the department? Anyway, good morning, and it's my understanding that this gentleman, Mr. Bagley, would like to enter in some kind of settlement discussions. I'd like to afford you the opportunity to tell us where you are and if you're willing to do that, or if you even considered it. So please identify yourself and go.
Yeah, Bradley Moe with the Office of Finance.
Todd Bowie, Office of Finance.
Yeah, we would, the Office of Finance would be willing to continue to discuss settlement. In the meantime, we would request that the council approve the lien, and we can continue to work with the taxpayer in the meantime.
All right, members, are there any questions from the members of the council? What district is this in? What council district?
I believe it's in District 5.
Okay, so since I don't see any of Mr. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to vote on this and then afford you the opportunity to continue negotiations with Mr. Bagley. Okay. I'll let you say one more thing, Mr. Bagley.
Yes, again, I'd like the council to make the finding that there is no assets that this lien can collect, and the only purpose of filing the lien is to besmirch the financial reputation of my clients.
Well, we're not in the business of besmirching, but what we will do, I will recommend to this council that we approve this motion, and I would ask Department of Finance to continue to negotiate with you, and hopefully we can come to some agreed upon settlement. With that said, Madam Clerk, let's prepare to vote. Let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, if you guys could huddle with Mr. Bagley for a minute. Thank you for being here. Mr. Alarcon?
Make 15 and 26 forthwith to the mayor.
15 and 26 forthwith. Mr. Clerk, let me ask you a question. Do we have ordinances that we need to re-vote on? Well, can you identify what those ordinances are? And let's take those up right now. Mr. City Attorney, I'd like to lump them all together so we can take them up for one vote. So, Mr. Clerk, what do I have?
Very good, sir. Items for reconsideration are items 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 23, 25, and 26.
Okay, so now this vote is on reconsideration. Let us please open the roll, close the roll. Madam Clerk, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay. Now we vote on the actual measures again. Let us, Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
City Attorney, I have tasked you with coming up with something else for me to say this is really getting monotonous, opening the roll, close the roll, tabulating the vote. So I will give you during the holiday break, and I don't want you to come up with the suggestions like the previous one was to rock it, spin it, whatever you said.
Since then, I have embraced monotony.
Oh, you have? Okay. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Listening to you say that every time, you know.
That's as bad as, and I approve this message. Next item. Mr. Walsh, are you here? Mr. John Walsh, we're going to take up item 9. So if you please come forward. John Walsh, HollywoodHighland.org.
Two weeks ago when I appeared here and at the county on a Tuesday, 10,000 visitors, 10,000. And incidentally, you know my suggestion, not open the roll, open fire. This is number 9. It is an alcohol license for something called a Ham and Eggs wine bar. That's making me sick to my stomach, just thinking of ham and eggs and wine. But then again, L.A. is a 24-hour drunk tank. And you're going to pass this. We have more per square foot. We have more alcohol consumption beverage licenses than any place else in the world. And you're going to vote for this. Come to my website, find out what's happening, stay tuned, HollywoodHighlands.org. Take the 10 seconds back.
Okay, nobody else is in the queue. Okay, everybody pay attention. All members vote who desire to vote. Open the roll, Madam Clerk. All members vote who desire to vote. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That should bring back flashbacks to Mr. Krikorian, Mr. Alarcon, Mr. Cardenas, and myself from another place and time. Okay, the next item. Item 22. John, Mr. Walsh, HollywoodHighland.org. It's called Special.
For the record, at 10 a.m. when I was here, there was nobody here. If you tuned in, you see you didn't get on. There was not a single councilman here. This is 22. I don't see her here. This is a new trend. The mayor appoints someone and the person doesn't even bother to show up. That's how, it's just like the liquor licenses. The vote is going to be 12-0 for somebody named Belinda M. Vega to the Board of Fire and Police and Pension. Now, this is not an attack on Miss Vega. I want to make that certain. But I want to know whether Miss Vega, as a commissioner, has any small children. I want to know if Miss Vega is going to bring those children to this building the way Miss Alarcon does. And I want Miss Vega, the mayor's appointee, to say that she will keep charge of her child and make sure that she doesn't show up in some nightclub 2 blocks away drunk and her child picked up here the way a child of Andrea Alarcon, who was not only an appointee but was an employee, and the LA Times is now saying, oh, keep her on. It has nothing to do with her ability to do the job.
He is not talking about disappointment.
I'm talking about Miss Vega. Miss Vega, I'm sure she is not that kind of mother. She's not a piece of garbage, Miss Vega, but when you have something like that happen in this building, and it's never happened at a city hall, anyplace else, I'm asking Miss Vega, Miss Vega, Miss Vega, I want you to ask her what is her attitude towards child care and whether she'll keep her child. And if you want to arrest me for
Mr. Walsh, I don't know if it's because of the neighborhood that you grew up in, but being arrested is not fun. I mean, so most of us don't want to be arrested, and it is not my intention to have you arrested, even though sometimes I get a little devilish, but no, I will show self-control. It's my understanding that Ms. Vega is here, and if you could please come forward. And all I'm going to ask you to do is to just tell us a little bit about yourself and then afford us the opportunity to confirm you. So go right ahead.
Good morning, council members. Good morning, Mr. President. My name is Belinda Vega. I'm actually a resident of Los Angeles. I grew up in La Puente, California, San Gabriel Valley. I went to UCLA, and then I went to Columbia Law School. My parents immigrated to Los Angeles, to the city of Los Angeles from Mexico in 1972. First generation Mexican American. Very happy to be here. Very honored to serve the city.
Thank you. Mr. Rosendahl?
Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, thank you for stepping up to do this. Tell us what you hope to accomplish in that role.
Well, thank you for the question. I think right now we all realize that the city is in financially difficult times. We all realize the importance of cooperating and communicating with each other in terms of pensions and pension fund reform. I'm very well informed in terms of what's been happening with the city and the proposals put forth by city leaders, by the council, and by the mayor's office. My role is to implement whatever the city leaders, the mayor, and the council decide in terms of the pensions. My role is to administer as a commissioner, to work with the rest of the commissioners to do a good job to administer the fund. I think that I will work hard. I have a strong work ethic. I have strong integrity. I'm going to ask difficult questions from all sides. I'm going to do my homework to make sure that I'm well informed and that we do the best that we can for the fund and implement the fund according to the way that the leaders decide that we need to implement the fund.
And how are the investment returns looking now as you see it where we're at?
Well, you know, I'm going to have help from our general manager of the department, but I believe that for 2013, the returns are projected to be 4.1% for year-to-date returns. Is that correct?
The question my constituents keep asking is, we keep paying taxes and taxes and taxes, and we're tired of it going to pensions, and it's time that the city look differently at the future. What response do you give them?
I appreciate that. I am also concerned with the state of the city in terms of our financial security. What I do appreciate is that there is a lot of discussion and people have very strong opinions about what needs to be done, and that gives me hope that people are going to roll up their sleeves and work together and do what we need to do to provide financial security for the city, but also financial security for the employees who contribute very much to our city and who give their contributions.
Great. Well, I thank you very much for stepping up. I think it's terrific, and we look forward to your leadership.
Thank you. I look forward to it, and I'm very honored. Thank you.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you. Ms. Vega, congratulations. And
thank you.
Very proud and excited to have you here, given your background, your family story, your accomplishments, the fact that you spent some time at Columbia. All good in my book. Let me ask you two specific questions, because obviously the pensions are one of the most serious drivers of our budget situation, our fiscal situation. And in the past, we've often had, some commissioners who take the responsibility of making sure their fiduciary responsibility to the pension funds is paramount, and we all agree with that. But sometimes it stops short there, and there's not been the understanding of the kind of secondary fiduciary responsibility of the city's fiscal health, which then obviously will reflect back into the pensions, depending on how healthy we are. So I was wondering if you could give kind of your comments on your philosophy about what your responsibility, how you see those responsibilities fitting together. And then secondly, just what you think, how we're doing in terms of what our expectation on our average rate of return is, and what we're putting in there.
I'll answer your first question first. I think that, I'm a lawyer, so I'm very well familiar with the issue of fiduciary responsibility. In fact, I'm a litigator, so I've defended and I've dealt with cases in terms of breach of fiduciary responsibility. So I take it very seriously, and I always go back to the law. And, I'm sure you guys are well familiar with this, but Municipal Code 11.06 defines the fiduciary responsibility of the commissioners. And it is, I agree with you, it is to provide benefits and to administer the system for the participants. And it is also to minimize the city's contributions and to defray the reasonable expenses of administering the system. So I think in looking at all those three factors, there is definitely the idea that we need to administer the pension fund for the benefit of the participants to the best of our abilities and do our work to be well informed and make the best decisions that we can. And at the same time, we have the fiduciary responsibility to minimize the contributions of the city to the system. And I think, you know, we've all heard the hotly contested debates over how best to do that. I think our job is to implement what the city decides, what the city council decides, what the mayor's office decide, what city leaders and the people decide if there is a referendum, to implement what they decide and to do our best job to be well informed and do our best job to make the decisions that are going to make the pension fund get a good rate of return and minimize risk of loss.
So specifically on the second one, do you think that we have a good expectation of our rate of return? There's always pressure of people saying it's too high, or should we
No,
reduce?
I think that the rate of, I think that in terms of comparing ourselves to other systems out there, I think we have a good rate of return. I think in terms of comparing ourselves to the history of, how the system has done, I think we have to look at that. I also think we have to consider that if we change the rate of return now, it may impact the city's contribution. So those are all considerations that we have to take into account.
And one last thing, because my time is up, and the president will no doubt fulfill his responsibility to move on. How funded are we in the pension fund today, percentage-wise? Kind of snapshot last time that we've looked at.
I again will defer to our general manager on this issue, but I think our funding, or is it at 41%? 84%.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Okay, members, Madam Clerk, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Congratulations and thank you for your service. We're joined today by a colleague from the Los Angeles School District. We have member Nuri Martinez is here. Why don't you come up to the podium so you can be seen? Hustle now, though. Anyway, let's give a welcome to our school board member. They work so hard, and it's they're in a no-win situation. But welcome, and thank you for adjusting your schedule to be with us today. Nuri Martinez, I think District 6 you represent in the city? All right. Okay, next item. 24, Mr. Walsh and Wayne Spindler, please come forward.
Apparently, everybody, you're supporting Miss Martinez. She's running.
No, wait.
No,
wait, that is not the item, Mr. Walsh. Stay on the item, and don't ever think you know what I'm going to do. All right? The item has nothing to do with her. Out of respect, I introduced her.
HollywoodHighlands.org. Subject, okay. Incident, everybody in Westchester, they're putting in a new parking meter zone in your area. You're going to see that. Now, they're not here because they don't know about it. But I'm telling you, that's what they're doing, and they're going to be doing it all over. So, when you vote for mayor, make sure vote for anybody but Iris Garcetti.
Let's stay on this item. This item is...
I'm telling you, I want to know why you have picked Westchester parking meter zone. And I'm finished. I'll give you the last few seconds. Nuri Martinez for City Council. Herb Wesson supports her.
You're overcooking my grits today, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Spindler?
Yes, poor Westchester. It was trying to be seceded into another district that wound up being placed back where it was. And now they are facing the threat of these parking meters that are unfriendly to businesses, It'll start at $1 an hour. They'll raise it to $3, then $4, then $5, then $6 an hour. And where are the business owners today? Are there any business owners today here from the Westchester business community? Nobody here. So they'll pass this thing. And then what will happen is that what starts off to be small becomes a flat hourly fee, and then they'll have tow-away zones and sweeping days. So if anybody represents CD 11, which I don't think it has any representation, vote no. 1 minute.
Okay, on this item, there are no speakers in the queue. Madam Clerk, if we could prepare to vote on this, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, next let's go to item 27, Mr. John Walsh. I think he has a minute. How much does he have left? Okay, he passes on this. And Mr. Spindler? Wayne Spindler, item 27.
The world-famous rent escrow accounts. And this, again, is another example, and a gentleman today from San Diego was here today on a $200,000 lien. I urge everybody that hears me, if you're in China, if you're in Korea, please don't invest in this city another dime.
This is not regarding the rent.
Well, these are the owners of these properties are investors. So yes, it does. It certainly does.
Let's stay on the topic.
So if you're thinking of investing in rental properties, and you need to go on the internet and determine if the jurisdiction of the property is within the city limits of Los Angeles. If it is, and if the property was built before 1978, it'll be rent controlled. Please do not buy these properties. Thank you. 1 minute.
Thank you. Okay, on this item, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Mr. Clerk, I believe we'll go to item 30.
Very good, sir. Item 30, called special for cards.
Okay, we have several cards on item 30. We call up John Walsh, then Wayne Spindler. Mr. Walsh has 1 minute. 1 minute, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Herb's going out for a smoke break. He has to smoke 3 of them after he tangles with me. HollywoodHighlands.org. This is very important to everybody in the city of Los Angeles. We have a broken policy on broken parking meters. How many of you out there in the audience have had a ticket on a broken meter? And when you talk to the meter people, they don't speak English, Spanish, Korean. They don't speak any language. They tell you to tell it to the judge. But what this does, and read it, is retain the policy on inoperable parking meters. In other words, they're reinforcing this. It's going to pass 13-0, but you have a chance. Anybody but Eric Iris Garcetti who will vote for this for mayor. Anybody but Garcetti for mayor. Take back your 4 seconds. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Mr. Wayne Spindler, and then we'll have Dollhouse.
This was attempted to be stopped by the late city councilman Greg Smith, who departed us, and I give my condolences to him. And what happened here is you park at these meters that don't work. And in cities that are governed by normal people, they don't give you a parking ticket. But here, with the psychologically impaired city of Los Angeles leaders, they will issue a ticket even though the meter is broken and cannot accept funds. You have a chance to reverse it. Do it for the children. Do it for the late Greg Smith. Do it for Mitchell Englander, his stepson. Reverse the policy and allow a new policy of no tickets to be issued if the meter or the parking station is not working. Thank you.
Thank you. Dollhouse.
I wish to go a little further than that. This is a democracy. Nobody has ever voted for a parking meter. Why do we have them? Because you want to gain revenue illegally, which you do constantly. One time in Hollywood, I was looking at the parking meter because I got there a little bit I had 27 minutes left. The damn parking meter went on fail, and then it put itself on 0. If I had been there 1 minute later, I would have had a lousy ticket. Eventually, I lost my cars to parking tickets. Parking tickets that I hadn't even put on my car. Somebody else had, but I didn't know. One day I found the Denver boot on my vehicle. Remember, I'm living homeless, and you took my only home, which was a van. You are a bunch of thieves with a license. The people have not given you permission to put any parking restrictions, and yet you do it just to rob the people. Thank you. I'm glad I got here in time to tell you you are a bunch of thieves with a license, and you should not be able to sleep at night knowing that you're robbing everybody. And you don't need to do that. You can run society in a different direction. Don't be thieves with a license. Every city hall in the United States is a bunch of thieves with a license. In Ohio, a guy had 120 parking tickets. He went and killed the mayor and 3 city councilmen and then killed himself. Why? Because you are thieves with a license and you don't deserve to live on this earth under those circumstances. I would never be that violent myself.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, we do have Councilor Labange on this item.
Thank you. I'll ask the representative for the Department of Transportation who's here, if they could speak there. And so here's the concern that I have, as others share, that we want it to be a fair city, not a fine city, a fair city to all. Could you explain the policy, the procedure, and why we do this in a way that is of the interest of the Department of Transportation's responsibility?
Certainly. Dan Mitchell, Department of Transportation. As we heard from the public, and probably most of us know, we used to have a really big problem with parking meter vandalism in the city of Los Angeles, issues with failed meters. But 2 years ago, the City Council passed a new policy in December of 2010 that said no to parking meter vandalism. That was the pay to park policy, and that applied to the new parking meters that accept credit cards and coins. That policy removed the benefit of breaking a meter, because breaking a meter no longer meant free parking and avoiding your parking fees. As a result of doing away with that vandalism and that motivation, the vandalism has become extremely rare on the new meters. The department has been able to maintain those meters at essentially 100% uptime. Whenever we have a problem, the new smart meters send a text message to our technicians, and they're able to respond in a few hours. Over the course of the last 2 years, the department has continued to upgrade our parking meters from the old kind with the old policy to the new card and coin meters, and we are set to complete that transition by the end of this month. So we will only have that one policy. Now, to comply with a new California law, the City Council must pass the resolution in order to retain the existing policy beyond the end of this month. That pay-to-park policy applies only to those new meters, but those new meters will be all that we have in Los Angeles. The department recommends approval of this resolution in order to minimize the risk to the city's revenue, to hold the line on parking meter vandalism, and to keep providing the excellent service we've been able to maintain.
What kind of public information? I always get mad that a meter like in a peak hour zone, 4 to 7, will be there and there's no notification, and people will use the meter card or that. And there's not that. There used to be in previous time no parking 4 to 6, 4 to 7. They were a little decal. What kind of decals do you put on these?
Yeah, the new meters have this is an enlarged version, have this large red sticker, the pay to park sticker, that lets people know of the pay to park policy, which requires that you basically pay for your parking space unless you're legally exempt. Referring to the tow-away times, the great thing about these new meters is that they actually have the tow-away times programmed in, so that when
you got a BlackBerry
check your time,
right
Councilman
there?
LeBons.
You got a BlackBerry right there?
I have an Android phone.
What do you got? How many broken meters are in the city right now?
Today, this morning, I actually get an email whenever there is an inoperable meter, which means it can't accept payment in any form. We don't have any right now.
Right now. I have more questions unless anyone else has other questions.
Councilman Rosendahl.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have these meters throughout my district. Obviously, meters are meters, and they cost money to run. But the technology we now have employed is rather fantastic. And the amount of breakdowns is rather small. How many breakdowns do we get, would you say, out of the total we got?
The case that applies to this rule is when both the cards are jammed and the coins are jammed, and the meter can't accept any payment.
Right.
That happens an average of 5 times a month. And our staff gets an immediate alert. All of our technicians have smartphones, and we have that repaired on average in 3 hours.
In 3 hours. And how many have you deployed in my district?
Oh, I don't have the exact number, but all of the meters in your district have been upgraded, Councilman, and
I
all
might
of them
say my
citywide.
folks are rather vocal, rather engaged, and if things aren't going right, they let me know and you know, correct?
Absolutely, and we have had nothing but praise for the new parking meters. All of the issues have been with the old type that only accepted coins and flashed fail, and those will be gone by the end of this month.
Yeah, and I might say from my own personal experience in the district, nobody likes to pay for parking. Don't get me wrong, but we need a reality here for revenue streams, not only for your department, but for the city in general. And since the complaint level is so minuscule, and you repair them in 3 to 4 hours, and I've noticed that, and I've anecdotally have heard that from hundreds of my constituents, we obviously have to support this policy and continue to implement it citywide. Thank you very much for what you've done, especially the ability to get all those smartphones and get everybody quickly in a 3 or 4 hour period to fix one that isn't working.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, our concern is that if the council doesn't pass this resolution to retain the current policy that's been working so well, that we could return to prior days when people had a motivation to break meters. We had as many as 10% of our meters broken at any time. That would mean a hit of $5 million just in parking meter revenue alone per year, which is a significant hit not only to the Special Parking Revenue Fund, but to the general fund as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Rosendahl. Our next speaker is Councilman Koretz.
Yes, I had doubts about this when we heard it in transportation, but after our conversation, I was more convinced. I know that in my district, we have a problem with valet parkers doing all kinds of illegal things, and particularly on 3rd Street, we're aware of them actually breaking meters so that they can then park people at these meters rather than in spaces that they allegedly have but often don't really have. I think this will deal with that piece of the motivation. It'll make it a little more difficult for valet parkers to engage in their illegal activities, but I think it'll save the city a lot of money and a lot of hassles, and it's probably the right thing to do. As counterintuitive as it sounds, and it's so rare, as we were told in committee, that both functions actually fail at the same time, that it will be very rare that someone can't find a way to pay for their meter. Unlike the old meters where this happened hundreds of times across the city. So I think this is a decent idea, and I'm in support.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Councilor Labange.
Thank you. Saturday in the rain, I was on Hollywood Boulevard. I saw one of your technicians. Do your technicians work 7 days a week?
Councilman, they work 6 days a week.
6 days a week.
Yes. They generally have off on Sunday.
Yeah. I just want to track this, Mr. Koretz and Mr. Rosendahl. I know we share seats on the committee that you chair, Mr. Rosendahl. And Mr. Koretz, I know you're feeling there. I just want to, I think we should all should survey our own, move forward, survey our business districts, whether it's the Hollywood Business District and the bid areas, just to make sure we're fair. That's the key, and that we don't have an accidental or incidental trap that you come into. I want people to know that Los Angeles is a good city. Right now, if you're in a meter and you back out of the meter, there's nothing that makes that meter go back to zero, right?
That's correct.
And that's the policy of the city, correct?
That is the current practice.
Policy.
There isn't an adopted policy, except in our Express Park demonstration area, the council did approve the use of that technology.
Where?
Which we haven't taken taken advantage of. That's in downtown.
Yeah, I think I voted against that because I think there's a certain joy in life in Los Angeles when you do find a parking meter and you do find that there's time still on the meter and you got it. I don't want it to be so sophisticated that it goes back to zero. There should be. Do you agree there should be a little joy in Los Angeles?
I absolutely agree. There's joy every day in Los Angeles.
Mr. Potter, you know who Mr. Potter was in Wonderful Life? Members, I think consult our field deputies and let's work with the business communities to try to be fair and have an effective parking meter program for turnover parking. Thank you, Daniel, for your efforts. And I forget the guy's name on Hollywood Boulevard. He works out of Piper Tech, but tell him thank you. In the rain, some of these technology, the water gets in and knocks him down real quick. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, Councilman Rosendahl. Next on the queue.
I move approval of this item going forward.
Okay, so item is in front of us.
Very good. So for clarification, that would be approval of the recommendation of the Los Angeles Department of Transportation.
Okay, so let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes, 1 no.
Okay, so that passes, and that'll be forthwith. Now, we do have special guests, and I also want to welcome Mr. Martinez, a school board member. It's good to have you in the council chamber. And Councilman Cardenas, I believe, has a presentation. I think the bus got here. So it's good to have our guests, and welcome to the council chamber.
Come on up. Come on up. Mary, coaches. Thank you very much, Mr. President. What you see here is a bunch of young women athletes, but you're going to find out in a minute that they're very special and unique, and they're trailblazers. Panorama City High School is relatively a new school since it opened its doors in 2006. However, the students there are making history in LAUSD. The first female student joined the all-male wrestling team in 2008. This means she suited up, hit the mats, and endured the same challenging workouts and diet regimens as her male counterparts. And more often than not, she often competed against other males in her matches on pure strength and endurance, regardless of gender. Although such conditions aren't exactly inviting to bringing in more women, more and more students wanted to know what this sport was all about and how to become a fierce competitor. Today, there are a total of 23 female wrestlers on the Panorama City High School female wrestling team and a female head coach. They are officially the largest contingent of female wrestlers and the only registered full female team in all of LAUSD history. These athletes will tell you it's not easy to buck the trend and start something new. There is still a misconception out there that this is an inappropriate activity for women or that they are not strong enough to wrestle against their male counterparts. However, they don't let these misconceptions get them down, and the number of women competing in wrestling only continues to rise. The lessons these young women learn is leadership and mental and physical discipline, and this will continue throughout their lives. These women are paving the way for years to come, as they are not not only pioneers in this sport that has traditionally had all male participants since the Greeks started wrestling thousands of years ago. Not geeks, Greeks. But they are also role model students. These student athletes boast an average GPA above 3.0, with 6 athletes carrying above a 4.0. In addition, many of them participate in other sports such as cross country, volleyball, softball, and swim team. However, several of these female athletes have dedicated themselves solely to the sport of wrestling and wish to continue their wrestling careers in college. Although these women have made great strides already, they still face many challenges. Until the district officially recognizes women's wrestling as a sport under Title IX, they are responsible for thousands of dollars in costs for uniforms, athletic equipment, and tournament fees and transportation. The dedication of these young women is unfaltering. In addition, these coaches should be thanked for their hard work and dedication. They put in countless hours in coaching and mentoring these young women, and they are unpaid. Please join me today in congratulating and welcoming LA's first high school female wrestling team to City Hall on this wonderful day in Los Angeles. And I'd like to give the opportunity for our school board member for our area, Nuri Martinez, to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Cardenas and members of the City Council. I am delighted to be here this morning. Thank you for the recognition earlier, but I am so proud of the Panorama High School all-women's female wrestling team in LAUSD, but I'm also just as proud of their academic achievements at the school. Mr. De La Torre, our principal, couldn't be here this morning, but I want to recognize head coach Ms. Abby Herrera and coach Richard Ramos, both exemplary leaders in the community, but also to recognize Panorama High School's academic achievement, a growth of 44 points in API scores last year. That is a wonderful, wonderful tribute. 44 points. And these young ladies are not only setting the norm for LAUSD, but they are also entering a sport that is traditionally an all-men's sport. So we have to recognize and applaud them and just be in awe of the fact that they are also amazing athletes, but they're also amazing students, and their GPA scores is a tribute to the great work that they do in their studies as well. Thank you so much for recognizing us this morning. I am very, very proud of Panorama High School.
Congratulations. If I may, Councilman Cardenas, I'd like to congratulate and thank Ms. Martinez. I think the folks in school board now and the students have endured an amazing amount of pressure with the cutbacks, the shortfall, and the environment that has been very negative. And to have the spirit and the attitude to move forward and accomplish what they have truly is remarkable and commendable, and I congratulate all of you.
Thank you. I'd like to give an opportunity for Coach Herrera to say a few words.
Good morning, Council. I just want to say thank you so much for having us here today. I stand behind these girls 100%. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. They have the courage, the strength, and the ability to be out there and doing what the boys do, and some of them do it better. So I have to totally commend them. I also thank my principal. My principal is amazing. If it wasn't for him backing us up and helping us out and really giving us the ability to start this program, I wouldn't have been able to get it off the ground. My coach here, Coach Ramos, also without him, you know, technically we wouldn't be out there beating up the boys and beating up the girls even harder. So thank you so much for having us, and have a good day.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We will allow a male to speak. Coach Ramos, you want to say a few words? And what weight class were you when you wrestled?
125 pounds in college.
At 126 now.
I'm just really blessed. Thank you very much for accepting us here. I'm very blessed to have Coach Abby, the Panorama School, and especially my girls. They work very hard. I've coached male and female. My daughter's in college, her second year in university wrestling, and the sport's growing. And to go from coaching 3 girls to coaching 20 girls was an overwhelming task, but every day I come into this room, I have nothing but sure joy with how hard these young ladies work. And wrestling in college, I wrestled in Russia, I wrestled in Ukraine, and these girls work as hard, if not harder, to give me everything to keep me motivated. So that's payment enough for everything. So I really appreciate the recognition that you're giving these young ladies. Thank you.
Congratulations. We do have one speaker on the queue, Councilman Rosendahl.
Yes, I've been grinning through the whole thing. Breaking through the glass ceiling is so significant and so important. But even more important is the academic achievement that also results in it. Because if you can do this, you can do anything, you know? And that kind of energy envelops you and will take you through your whole life. And I will dare say some of the young ladies that you're with right now as part of the team will be friends of yours for the rest of your life. The bonding takes place in these kinds of momentous, unique experiences. So break through that glass ceiling, and boy, Tony, we're going to miss you here, but you're going to be a big leader for us in Washington. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Rosendahl. I would like to give an opportunity for one of the young ladies to volunteer to say a few words on behalf of the team members. Say your name.
Hi, I'm Diana Oliva. Thank you for having us here. I really appreciate that you guys acknowledge us in such an important way, because for us joining the sport, it was really difficult, but we love it and we love playing it. And I appreciate everything our coaches do for us, and I really appreciate that you guys acknowledge the hard work we put into the sport. Thank you.
Barriers are broken all over the place, some large, some small. These young ladies have to announce their weight every week, which isn't common in the regular world. But also I'd like to point out two things, speaking mainly to the young people. You have to understand that people feel alone. People feel alone until people start breaking barriers. This is the first all-women's wrestling team in LA Unified history, the second largest district in the country. And when I mentioned that earlier, I think a lot of the young ladies didn't even realize that they're pioneers, because I could hear the wows from them themselves. They're doing it because it's the right thing to do and because they enjoy it and they want to, yet at the same time they didn't even realize what pioneers they are. Also, Paloma Perez, stand up. Paloma works for me, and she has actually shared stories that she wrestled in high school and how alone she felt. You're not alone. Also, another inspiring story. I've been very blessed to have a new job coming up soon. And one of my friends, Dr. Rees, that some of you actually met, he came here to City Hall to meet some of us and ask for our support some months back. He did get elected to the U.S. Congress, but I have met his girlfriend, who is about the size of most of you young ladies. But let me tell you about Dr. Rees' girlfriend, Monica. Monica is 5-time world champion in martial arts. 5-time world champion. She's the only woman to ever win the world championships 5 times, and also the only one to do it 5 times in a row. But this is the most inspiring part about her story. Back then, she was probably about 120, 125 pounds at the most. But the thing that is most unique and inspirational about her story is that when you win your brackets, it's women against women, men against men. But as soon as you go to the national championships, there is no gender difference. You have to fight amongst each other. All champions compete with all the other champions. On top of that, the weight classes are no longer in existence. A 125-pounder fights a 250-pounder. And in order for her to win the championship, more often than not, she ended up fighting against somebody that was over 225-pound male. And she beat him badly and won the championship to be the world champion 5 times in a row. So, understand, young ladies, it doesn't matter if it's a guy or a gal that you're wrestling against. Just bring it, and you will win. You're winners already. Thank you very, very much. And this is a resolution. Thank you, all elected officials of the City of Los Angeles. We all signed this on your behalf to commemorate and honor the City High School women's Panorama City High School women's wrestlers team. Congratulations. And we have a couple more for the coaches. On behalf of the district. Okay. All right. Okay, here's another certificate for the team and also for Coach Herrera. Okay, congratulations. And we'll go in the back and take some pictures together. Okay. All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Again, congratulations, young ladies. Mr. Garcetti, you held item 21 special. Are we? Okay, so then let's move to item, or are you ready? Yeah, we can move to item 16 then. I think that was held special by cards and some council members. So, in fact, we don't have to take, we've already fulfilled the public comment request where it relates to item 16. So we will move directly to the members. Okay. So Mr. Rosendahl and I think Labange, we're doing 16. We'll start off with Mr. Garcetti.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Mr. Rosendahl, our transportation chair. Thank you, Mr. Labange, who is responsible for Hollywood with me, and thank you for allowing me to open up. If we do have some speakers who have been here very patiently for a long time, and not just patient today, but patient for a long time for this day. Colleagues, I hope you'll join me today in moving forward. What we have today would be our first ever valet ordinance in the City of Los Angeles. As you all know, certain parts of the City of Los Angeles are heavily impacted by parking. And in many of those areas, valet operators are and will continue to be critical to the daily lives and dealing of our residents, businesses, and all stakeholders. As in many industries, we have good operators, but we also have some bad operators. And we're here today in response to a call for public safety, for better business, and for better neighbors. Let me give you an example of why we need to move forward. At the height of the activity in my district, as Hollywood has come back as an area to be around, specifically there around the summer times or weekends, you'll find upwards of 6 valet companies competing against one another on a 1 to 2 block stretch. Now, don't get me wrong, competition is great. However, when you have valet companies that are not insured, they're not endorsed or affiliated to any local business, and are monopolizing on-street metered spaces as well as parking cars in our neighborhoods, then you have a serious problem, which is why we are here today. The idea today is not to create an additional burden on business or to create a bureaucracy. It's actually the opposite, to ensure public safety, to provide good customer service, and to protect neighborhoods. So moving forward today is not intended to stifle existing collaboration among businesses who have established valet parking systems. Instead, our intent is to provide the teeth to ensure that the balance isn't disrupted by rogue operators. The work to regulate the valet industry has been up and down, first beginning with an assessment of valet regulations back in 2007 when the CRALA helped to fund that, and we began to first see conflicts arise in the Hollywood Entertainment District. 2009, we were at a boiling point, and after some initial success working with businesses and valet in collaborative efforts, we were sent back to the drawing board because at the end of the day, we had no teeth, no way to enforce against bad operators. And we talked to so many people whose cars were scratched, whose things were taken, and folks whose businesses were blocked. So that's when we began down the path to create a new ordinance. That path included discussions of establishing a pilot project, a valet district, or universal valets. But what we found was that we needed a simple yet effective ordinance that allowed us the enforcement capability. Through the work and leadership of our departments, and believe me when I say this, the regulation of valet businesses in the City of LA was something that included many great departments. The Police Commission, and Richard Tivank is here representing them. the Los Angeles Department of Transportation, the Bureau of Street Services, the Office of Finance, City Planning, and our City Attorney, of course, to help bring it together. And this was not created in a vacuum. It's benefited from city experts in various departments, the experience of business owners in the city who hire and need valets for their operations, a good deal of surrounding jurisdictions, including Santa Monica, West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, and Pasadena, and the valet companies themselves. I'm sure you've all been briefed on what's before us, but let me briefly highlight some of the key elements and then conclude. First of all, the Police Commission will issue the valet permit with a corresponding sign-off from DOT, BSS, and Office of Finance. Valet companies in the city must be insured. They must be permitted and submit to a background check. They will no longer be able to park in neighborhoods or at metered parking spaces, and they must provide proof of where they are parking. Enforcement will be complaint-driven, and there will be a 6-month rollout period starting in Hollywood first. So I urge you today to help us move this forward, to adopt the Public Safety Committee report. Now I want to say something because Mr. Rosendahl has brought up the stakeholders that exist in Venice, who I'm very conscious of as well, who have done a lot of work in Venice. This is something that, by passing this forward today, will come back. It has to go to the Public Safety Committee. And in the time between now and then, Mr. Rosendahl and I will ensure that Venice stakeholders are engaged in this process. We won't move forward something final at that process unless they are satisfied that their efforts will not in any way be stymied and in some ways may be able to even be included into some of what this is happening. But in the meantime, for our Hollywood stakeholders to not lose a single day, to be able to move forward. And I want to thank Councilmember Englander for his careful attention to this issue. As Chair of Public Safety Committee, he did an extraordinary job with all of those departments, he and his staff. We wouldn't be here without them today. And thank you, Mr. Rosendahl, as well, for your good work on the transportation side and making sure that the Venice stakeholders will be taken care of. I know we had public comment cards. I don't know if, and I know we've met it. Does anybody want to speak for a minute from the group that's here? Hold on, sir. From the Hollywood community? Maybe if I could ask Carrie Morrison.
Wait a minute, Mr. Garcetti. What do you no? Because public hearing is. If I open it up for one, I'm gonna have to open it up for everybody.
All right, I'll leave that to the discretion of the president.
I would think we would just keep it within the members so that we don't.
I'll leave that to your discretion, then, sir.
Yeah, let's play by our rules. Let's get Mr. Rosendahl to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it very much, and thank you, Mr. Garcetti. As you well know, that the 11th District has lots of parking issues. And we have historically been talking about regulating valet parking. It is an important process that we as a city need to have some commonality on it that makes sense to all of us. Those folks in Venice right now with the Abbot Kinney Street have some very creative strategies. Thanks to Pat Russell, historically, we have a piece of land behind Abbot Kinney near Electra that she got from the railroad. And I was able to force all the businesses to get off of encroachment, and we have 115 spots. Now, one of the restaurants there, Hal's is the name of it, has raised $5 million in private funds, willing to partner with us with putting in an automatic parking structure where the 50 spots behind his facility would go to 150. We also have discussions going on with LAUSD about the Westminster parking lot, which is down the road a piece on Abbot Kinney, that could also be leased. And we're in the process of issuing an RFP for that. People in San Vicente over in the Brentwood area have lots of issues about parking and valet parking and all those issues. And I might say that also in Westchester, in Mar Vista, and in the Palisades. So my district is very engaged in this issue. So what we want to be able to have, Mr. Garcetti, and I know you've said it and you'll say it again, is that my folks will weigh into this and they will have a chance to see what we're putting forward and be able to react to it, interact with it, and feel comfortable about it. Because once my folks who have been engaged in this issue feel that it meets their needs, then my support goes that route. So when I spoke with Mr. Garcetti, we talked about, well, do we do a pilot? Do we continue it? From my perspective, wherever my folks get a chance to weigh in properly, take a deep breath and see it, is good enough for my folks to have that opportunity. So I support Mr. Garcetti with the continuing element of allowing us to participate over the next 60 to 90 days. Of course, I'm looking for money right now to do the RFP so we can do this public-private partnership. And all of us know around this horseshoe, public-private partnerships is the future of our great city. And instead of just talking about it, making it happen is part of the reality. So we look forward to that time frame. We look forward to looking at it, participating in it, and modifying it as it goes through committees if it's necessary to do such. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Englander.
Thank you. And this was one of those issues when I first came to my committee, I looked at it and said, wow, this has all kinds of questions and issues and potential problems associated with this. This is incredibly complicated. And we spent hours working on this, both in committee and out of committee, and meeting with the department. I want to thank the department as well, and Richard Tiefenk, that really brought a lot of ideas on where we created every worst case scenario that you could possibly fathom. And then I looked at this as well and saying, is this really a solution in search of a problem? And realized that this is just the opposite. This is a public safety nightmare that's just ready to explode, where you have people on the street and who knows who they are, where you turn your keys over and your valuables that may not be insured, that could be wanted for all kinds of crimes that we have no idea. And we don't even know if they're licensed. We don't know who they are. And you're suddenly giving them your keys and saying, here, go ahead and drive on a city street and put lives in danger. That's insane. I just got back from the National League of Cities where I was in Boston with Mr. Reyes, and the valet parkers there, you can't help but notice now when you travel, you can't check your work and leave your work at the office. You pay attention to everything and all your surroundings. And it's exactly what Mr. Garcetti has been working on and described. You walk around there and you see all the valet operators wearing the exact same valet jackets, and they have the stickers that say officially licensed by the city. This is time is ripe to do this. And all those issues have been well vetted. I look forward to additional discussions and input from the stakeholders. But it's time to do this, and to protect the public as a matter of public safety. I really support this, and this is a great ordinance, and it's really been well vetted. So thank you, Mr. Garcetti, for bringing this to the table.
Mr. Labange.
Could the staff please come to the center table? Just ask some questions, if it real could. I support this concept. I just want to make sure there's a... Right now, Daniel, you first. If it says a passenger loading and loading zone, you approve that, correct, DOT?
Yes, the department approves.
And the passenger loading and loading zone is a valet zone, or there's no sign for valet zone, is there?
No, anyone can conduct passenger loading, and
but there's no sign, like a loading, you know, a yellow loading zone sign, like they make over in the sign shop. Mm-hmm. There's no valet loading zone.
No, sir.
Got it. Now, because of technology today, members, people are commercially producing the look-alike signs, and they just kind of show up. Correct, Daniel?
We have had cases of that, so we're being vigilant to ensure that we don't have.
So there'll be some consistency, and they also put the cones in the street and kind of take over. So this will help Mr. Garcetti with that challenge that, you know, you always try to protect those neighborhoods off of Hollywood Boulevard, etc. So you have a Denver Boot van. You ever seen the Denver Boot van? It drives around. Are you going to have people drive around at night, and how are you going to enforce it?
I'll ask Mr. Tiefenk to respond about enforcement.
Okay.
Councilmember Richard Tiefenk, Executive Director of the Police Commission. The enforcement will be complaint-driven, number one, but at the beginning of the process, we will begin enforcement in two ways. One, within Commission Investigation Division, we have sworn personnel who will be given the primary responsibility of educating Los Angeles police officers in the various 21 police areas about what the law is, how they can enforce it, what they should look for. We will also work with the Department of Transportation so we have more eyes out there. But the reality is most of it will be complaint-driven, but we do intend, when the program begins, to have a very aggressive education program to the valet community, the restaurant community, to get their voluntary compliance.
Well, there's a variety of different barricades or posts. I don't know what you call what you specifically call them, Daniel. They just stand up with a little suction cup on the street, and they look official. It's just like the problem we have, members, when you see people wear a badge and they knock on the door like they're from the DWP and they want to check your backyard and they're a bad person. There needs to be some consistency, and I don't know if it's the vice unit or somebody that goes out regularly, because it's a wilding operation out there. Mr. Garcetti, would you say that to be true, that there's a wilding operation on some streets where they take over and then they valet in the neighborhood? So we need to hear back from you if we need to find people or empower public works inspectors or empower DOT officers.
And one of the recommendations we have is that we would empower the street use inspectors so that they could also cite.
Very good. Street use inspectors are great, and they should be empowered. Thank you, Maria. And the last thing I want to say, on Las Palmas, at the light, on the northeast corner, you have someone as a valet, but you have parking allowed from 10 in the morning to 2, and no parking. It's very confusing. It's a trap, Daniel. Would you go to that corner and tell me if you would feel bad if you're from, somewhere in the world and you park there? Would you feel good about Los Angeles? There's so many regulations there, and then the valet's there. Do you understand?
Yes.
Will you check that out?
Is that Hollywood in Las Palmas?
Hollywood in Las Palmas.
Right.
I'm sorry, northeast corner. And then walk down the block to Cherokee and see there's confusing signs. It just seems like a trap. I want to make sure it's firm for everyone to go. Thank you. And thank Mr. Walk and Don't Walk. Mr. Tiefak, thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think this is a long time in coming and desperately needed. As I mentioned a little bit in one of the previous items, there are a lot of problem operators, and they do all kinds of nasty things that you would never imagine. Parking in permit parking districts and not caring if, taking the ticket off and not caring if the customer a week or two later gets a permit parking ticket. Parking at meters and damaging the meters so that they don't have to pay for the parking. I mean, it's a long list. Theft from the cars themselves. The most basic problem is that they may have some spaces technically, but they're double counted and triple counted and quadruple counted, so they really don't have any official spaces. And then they go out and violate the law in just about every way you can. In my neighborhood on 3rd Street, they actually altered some of the signs to change the hours. Now, I have to admit, I had a little black and a little white paint, and I altered them back whenever I caught that. So you may have never even noticed that they were altered. But we've had problems with coning, as Mr. Labange said, where the valet parkers would cone off 3, 4, 5 metered spaces that were not theirs to cone off, and demand that people give them their cars when they try to park there. What this is going to do is provide a list of where valet parkers park their cars. And it can't be on city streets, it can't be at meters, it can't be in residential neighborhoods. And now we're going to know where they're parked, when they're parked, and in some cases we'll be able to get some taxes that currently aren't paid, which I think is good for the taxpayers as well. This is a win-win-win for everybody. It's very exciting that we're hitting this point. I know there are a lot of residents in my district and some business owners that have been begging for this for years that will be absolutely thrilled that this has finally happened. So I hope this passes with a unanimous vote, and I hope this gets implemented very quickly. It's a crucial step that we're taking, and I thank everybody for getting us here.
Okay, Mr. Garcetti, to close.
Thank you, and thank you, colleagues. Again, thank you to everybody at the table, the folks that have come here. I went out on 3rd Street in Mr. Koretz's district with Ana Garcia from Channel 4, who was really one of the best journalists we have here in the city and who helped uncover a lot of this. We saw those fake signs that Mr. Labange mentioned. I'm glad to hear Mr. Koretz, who is an authorized city agent, is making sure that we're in compliance on those signs. And I really want to thank the Hollywood community that is here today. Joseph and Abe and Viang and Peter, Marty, Nicole, Carrie, I'm sure I've missed some folks, but if you could just have them stand up, I was going to do that exactly, Mr. Labange, and thank them for making it happen. Thank you for pushing this forward and making it a reality. And as we said, we'll make sure that that input does in no way hold back Venice from achieving what it needs to do, because every neighborhood is different. But finally, we're going to have somebody on your side. So when you pull up there and you say, this is a meter that I paid for with my tax dollars, and somebody put a cone out illegally because they want to do it, that is always been illegal, and now you will have an enforcement mechanism on your side. When you see a car scratched, when you see change missing, all that stuff, there will finally be a way for there to be accountability in the most basic thing that we do in the city, park our cars. So thank you again for, as Mr. Englander said, lots of times we have ordinances that are solutions in search of a problem. This was a problem that today got a solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, members, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, I believe the amendment has been submitted on item 21. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. 21A. It's a motion. Garcetti, Koretz, Krikorian.
Okay, there are no speakers on the queue where it relates to item 21. Madam Clerk, if you could open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, where are we now?
Mr. President, that takes us to general public comment.
Okay, well, yes, I'm going to defer to Mr. Labange. Mr. Labange, we're general public comment.
Public comment, please. Mr. Walsh, John Walsh.
Where's the motion?
Daniel Jones. Wayne Spindler.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Tough day for Mr. West and a pack of smokes in the back room. Okay, let's start with what's happening here. Andrea Alarcon should be removed. I just wonder if you had someone working in your home and that person was under investigation by the DA, whether you'd keep that person working for you. Okay, Fix the Budget is a right-wing group out of D.C. Our mayor has now joined this right-wing group, and we hear that Iris Garcetti has been asked to join this Fix the Budget right-wing group, and he is, in fact, weighing a decision on whether to join it or not. Now, I'd like to point out that the LA Times has an editorial attacking me, but without my name, for calling for the resignation of Andrea Alarcon. I'd like to point out that I spent 25 years as an LAUSD teacher. I have taught as a substitute hundreds, over 100,000. I taught in the New York City school system, and I taught in the Peace Corps with John Garamendi from 66, 67, and 68. And I spent all that time making sure that children were not endangered.
Excuse me.
You garbage, Mr. Rosenthal,
Walsh.
and the rest
Mr. Walsh. Cut this
building and be sent to the police. Especially Mr. Alarcon, grandfather of the year. HollywoodHighlands.org, scum of the year.
Okay, 6 seconds back on the clock. Anyway, in the blog on Ron KLA, they posted several times a speaker came here. He was a two-time mayor, Richard Reardon, who at the time was attempting to finance a ballot measure to save the city from going bankrupt. At the end of his comments, the chairman, who is known as the Emperor, King Herb I, Herb Wesson, after the public comment was over, said, "You can't talk. This is our house. You don't get to say anything." Why, Mr. Mayor, didn't you fix the problem, Mr. Reardon, when you were mayor? And the mayor didn't get a chance to answer. He's over 80 years old. He's the Central Library is named after the man because I think he gave $6 or $7 million to this city at least. Probably donated more. He operates numerous businesses. And after all of that, this is the way you treat a public servant such as Mayor Reardon. This is what you do. You call it your house. It's not your house. All of you sitting in those council chairs are there because of 75 major campaign donors who give you millions of dollars collectively so that when we vote, we don't get anyone except what they give us on the ballot. So it's not your house, it is the campaign donors' house. And it's time now for those campaign donors, starting with Richard Reardon, to stop financing the current herd that you have here and let elections be open and free again in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dude. I think the gentleman behind his name was called. I'm going to call this name here. John Whittaker. Susan Bruner, is that correct? And Kevin Michael Kay.
Can you have him make sure he's not a distraction?
Sir, you're out of order, please. I'm calling by the names.
You call my name.
All right, then speak.
My name is Daniel Jones.
Okay.
On December 13th at 11 a.m., the people that love your children more than you do, and I'm talking to the people, the staff members behind these irrelevant council members, we the people of this country are going to expose the fusion center on Norwalk Boulevard and Imperial Road, which is a mechanism that the Gestapo uses. Right here, StopLASpying.org. This is going to be the left hand for the right hand. The Los Angeles, I said be quiet! The Los Angeles Board of Supervisors on Tuesday just authorized $3 million for expenditures for what's called multimodality biometric tracing information systems. They're going to get ready to start tagging you and then bagging you with the Department of Homeland Security. This is an article in the Free Press.
Excuse me a second. Hold this time. Hold this time. Sir, would you step 1 foot? Hold the time. Don't call into the microphone. We don't want to ruin it for others. Okay? So just speak quietly into the microphone and everybody can hear. Continue, Mr. ITA. Mr. Jones, continue.
I picked this up at the ED office. Right here. Free Press. This is for all the mainstream media. Right here. It's about a job for being a Department of Homeland Security officer. Ideal candidate. It says Homeland Security field. Like an occupation of law enforcement field. Then it says less than 100 words down. The job you feel good about doing. One benefit to becoming in the Homeland Security industry, in less than 100 words, you created a cash cow industry. The cash cows is the Department of Homeland Security calling every American a terrorist.
Thank you. Thank you. The next speaker, please. Sergeant, would you? I know. You disrupted the meeting, Mr. Jones. And just, Mr. City Attorney, please note of his language and disruption as he leaves the John Ferraro chambers on this day. Thank you. Next speaker, Mr. John Whittaker. Did I say that correctly, John?
It's hard to follow that. Good afternoon, gentlemen and lady.
Introduce yourself, John.
My name is John Whittaker. I'm president of Paso por Paso and a member of the Coalition to Ban Alcohol Ads on the City Property. And Council File number 11-1429, which was introduced 16 months ago, has had no action on behalf of the committee in the Public Safety Committee, and we are encouraging, and we've gone to the committee, we've gone to extreme matters to try and ask them to please get this off of the table and discuss it so that it can come before you. For whatever reason, it has not come to you yet. We are encouraging the members of that committee to please do due diligence, follow the job that you have been asked to do. You are the city fathers and mothers of our city. We do not want alcohol ads that are produced by people making money through the city. It is costing billions of dollars in harm caused to the city of Los Angeles, and we are asking that at least this get taken off of the table and into discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have your name, sir.
Mr. President, Ms. Perry.
State your name, sir.
Kevin Michael Key.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right. Mr. President, Ms. Perry, Mr. Weezer, Mr. Cardenas, Mr. Englander is conspicuously absent. I'm here as a representative of Skid Row, the world's largest recovery community. I live and work there. I work for United Coalition East Prevention Project. We are part of the coalition to ban alcohol ads on all public property. This matter has been before committee, languishing there for 16 months. Approximately 6 months ago, it was sent out for a report. It has a shelf life or ordinance of 2 years. We are respectfully requesting the committee members and the entire council to push for this matter to have a fair hearing. Our children deserve as much. What we seek is a ban on alcohol advertising on public property because we believe that it targets our youth. And Skid Row recently, 2 of our homeless community members were struck down and killed by an underage teenage driver. We don't believe that this great city should profit from alcohol, and so we were simply asking that we get this matter out of committee so that we can have a full and fair public hearing and then bring to a vote. Thank you for your time.
Paul Scott, Michael Scipia, is that correct? Ruben Rodriguez. Hugo Pacheco. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the City Council. Several of the names you called, they had to leave. It's been a while. We didn't realize public comment had been moved to the very end. So hopefully, maybe a happy medium would be if public comment would be in the middle of the meeting. It might make it more practical for the people that wait. I know there's 100 issues. But again, my name is Ruben Rodriguez. I'm chair of the LA Coalition to ban alcohol advertising on all city-owned property. And we're here to, I'm chiming in also on a request for the Public Safety Committee, CLA's office, to please move this issue out of the committee and back to City Council. The original request was made by Councilmember Alarcón to draft an ordinance, prepare a report back in August of 2011, which has been about 15 months already, and no action has been taken. We need to question if there's other reasons why that's not happening. It's, it's a long time. I know there's a lot of issues, but we're requesting some efficiency, perhaps, in a request. In the private sector, if a board of directors makes a request, and it takes a year and a half, almost 2 years to get it done, I mean, obviously that company would go broke. And so we're asking that for some due diligence. We're asking that it please be moved out of the committee. We're asking Councilmember Englander to please take some action. About over a year ago, Martin Outdoor Media was granted a contract on the city benches for advertising, and the city took a very good position. Martin Outdoor Media also agreed to get the contract with no alcohol advertising. We think that there's no great impact on the city fiscal impact, but the human cost is terrible.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, if you could introduce yourself.
My name is Zua Pacheco, and I've been here a couple of times before on alcohol-related issues. I used to be the Hispanic area manager for the largest brewery in the world. I know quite a bit about the alcohol industry. I also know how it works and the influence that it can have on government. And I question as to why, when you're given a directive by this council to do something in 60 days, it takes over a year to try to get anything out. And one of the things that I question is whether or not there's a conflict of interest. So I would ask, please, for this council to investigate whether the chair of the Public Safety Committee has an actual conflict of interest. And if he does not want to be investigated, please remove himself and allow this to come forth so that the people of LA are protected. Thank you.
Ruth Sarnoff. Is Ruth here? Thank you, Ruth. Followed by Ruben Rodriguez. Followed by Mr. Dollhouse.
My name is Ruth Sarnoff, and I'm here today to urge your support for an amendment to this year's National Defense Authorization Act by Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon. On November 29th, it was passed by a filibuster-proof majority, which included 12 Republicans, as a sense of the Congress. And it reads as follows. It is the sense of the Congress that the President should, as previously announced by the President, continue to draw down United States troop levels at a steady pace through the end of 2014 and end all regular combat operations by United States troops by not later than December 31st, 2014, and take all possible steps to end such operations at the earliest date consistent with a safe and orderly drawdown of United States troops in Afghanistan. Polls have consistently shown an overwhelming support for ending the Afghan war as soon as possible. Every day that passes adds to the human cost and starves city budgets across America. I urge you to use the bully pulpit to push the door wide open that has been opened a bit right now for you, and to use your power as council people and to urge the governor and urge Mayor Villaraigosa as chair of the U.S. Council of Mayors to take this to other mayors across the country, because it's an opportunity to help our cities and to stop human suffering.
Thank you, Ms. Sarnoff.
Thank you.
Mr. Dollhouse.
Oh boy, what a three-ring circus this is. In the first place, parking restrictions are illegal. You're going against the people. But you know my biggest issue, do you have this in front of you? Cárdenas, Englander, Garcetti, Wizard, Coretz, Alarcón, city attorney, city clerk, voting, Rosenthal, Reyes, Perry, Parks. Do you have this in front of you? Do you? Okay. This is a summary of the book I wrote, which is our book. We're all writing it together. And it says, a home sweet home for everyone. Do you know what that means? That means you may not have 2 or 3 houses that you're making your wages out of somebody else. That means nobody's paying rent just to have a place to live all their lives. It is a stupid society that is dedicated to ripping the citizens off out of everything. You are the ones that are illegal, and you keep telling us how illegal we are, we the people. Oh, somebody vandalized a parking meter. Well, you're vandalizing the people with your parking meters. You're vandalizing everybody with your taxes. When somebody buys a home and can lose it for less than $2,000, even though they worked all their lives for that home, you're vandalizing those people when they're the oldest, when they are senior citizens. You take their home away with no sympathy. You throw them out on the street. You are the vandals, and you don't know it. Unless you change the way you do business, you will be the vandals forever. Thank you.
Seva Cooley, is that correct? Is there a Cooley, small handwriting, C-U-O-L-E-Y? All right, we'll note his card. Dennis Hathaway, last comment card.
Somebody vandalized the parking meter.
Last but not least, hopefully. My name is Dennis Hathaway. I'm president of the Coalition to Ban Billboard Blight and a founding member of the Coalition to Ban Alcohol Ads on Public Property. And I won't take up your time by just repeating what other people have said, but just to add that we do want to hear this issue heard. We think it's a very important issue. It's critical, and we would like a public hearing on it. However, I do want to add that I do not believe the fact that a committee chairman has a familial relationship with a lobbying firm that might have an interest in this issue represents a conflict of interest. In fact, I think that every member here in this council has the ability to rise above any personal relationships and do what is best for their constituents and the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, that completes our public comment. Mr. Clerk, what is before us?
Mr. President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
So ordered.
The desk is clear.
Desk is clear. Members, any announcements? Mr. Englander?
Yeah, I've got one that I know you've all heard about in the press. We had a horrific killing in my district this last weekend on Sunday. 4 people were murdered at an unlicensed illegal boarding facility in Northridge. But I do have a good announcement in case you hadn't heard that while the investigation is still open, we've got an incredible team at Robbery Homicide LAPD that needs to be applauded for their vigorous, tenacious work and focus. They put 16 of their best people on this. They spent 43 hours straight working on this case and made 4 arrests yesterday. And really proud of the work that they've done. It's truly incredible. It was very sad, and so I just wanted to, if we could, think about those victims and their families as well in this heinous crime where they were murdered at like that the wee hours of the morning. And the community will never be the same, but the city really stepped up to do the right thing, and LAPD did an incredible job. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Mr. Rosendahl?
Back to what Mr. Englander said. I tell you, it's just outrageous to hear that. Was there any effort made by, be it building and safety or any other...
Mr. City Attorney's going to say just an announcement.
I'm sorry, okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosendahl.
I appreciate that, though. Thank you.
Seeing that there's no other announcements, any adjourning motions? We have adjourning motions. Sergeants, would you have all rise for adjourning motions on this day?
Okay, let me get through this. Yep.
All rise, please.
It's all right, Bill. Thanks, Bill. Thanks.
Very
You have
good.
to do that.
Okay, get that away from me.
Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Colleagues, today it's with heavy heart that I ask that we adjourn in memory of my father-in-law, Salvatore Sam Shimataro. He tragically passed away following a fall at his home last week at the age of 73. Funeral was held yesterday at Mary Star of the Sea Parish in San Pedro. Over 2,000 people. It was an amazing show of community, of support, of friends and family that he also loved. First and foremost, I do want to thank, on behalf of the family, all of my colleagues, their friends, and our friends for their words of comfort during our loss. You have definitely helped us through this tremendous loss. Salvatore Sam Shimataro was born on March 22, 1939 in Terracini, Sicily. He was the eldest of 6 children. He immigrated to Detroit, Michigan in 1955 with his father. They both worked in the carpentry trade, a job skill he mastered. 18 months later, his father decided to bring the family to San Pedro. Upon settling in San Pedro, Sam set sail to build a better life for he and his future family. Continuing where he left off in Detroit, Sam worked for 2 local contractors. As a few years passed, construction jobs were on the decline, and Sam realized he needed something steady. He found a fishing job on his first boat, the Courageous, which took him into the Mexican waters to fish for tuna. His keen eyes and strong vision that was instrumental in feeding his family and contributing to the success of the fishing industry caused other boat owners to take notice of Sam's talent of spotting fish from afar. The Pacific Knight, the Ferrigno Boy, the San Pedro Pride, but he spent most of his fishing career on board one of the most successful tuna boats, the Mauretania. Being a commercial fisherman is very dangerous, as we see it in shows such as The Deadliest Catch, films like The Perfect Storm. Sam, with his skilled hands, built his own fishing boat, the Santa Maria B, which after 4 trips at sea unfortunately sank in the Mexican waters. Uncle Dominic, who was on the boat when it sank, recalls how quickly the boat went down. They were rescued by Mexican authorities. Before he retired, Sam experienced another close call with life when he was on board the Anna Maria II with Frank D'Amato. Like the Santa Maria, the Anna Maria II quickly capsized, sending the crewmen overboard. My wife Jay and I met him upon arrival at the dock. We welcomed a tearful Sam as he gave thanks for surviving the accident. My mother-in-law tells me he never got tired of fishing until his health prevented him from working. He loved it. When I asked him if he had the chance of going back to the waters with tears in his eyes, and without hesitation he said yes. Building was very much a part of his life. He worked hard. His gifted hands were put to good use for many years. As a valued craftsman, many of his family members came to Sam for his assistance with laying tile, building cabinets, framing walls. For Jay and I, we will never forget how he put those gifted hands to work when he built our son Mateo a playhouse in our backyard. It is now one of the most treasured pieces of art at our home, and a constant reminder of how much he loved our kids. He dearly loved his grandchildren and children. He instilled in his kids a strong work ethic and timeless family values. For 52 years, he and his wife Grace, in sickness and in health, shared love and happiness with my father-in-law. This is a blessing seldom experienced in this day and age. It is a reason enough to give thanks. In addition to being survived by his beloved wife Grace, Sam is survived by his son Donnie, his daughters Mary, Anna, Jay, son-in-law Mike, daughter-in-law Sandra, and his grandchildren Paula, Gracelyn, Sammy, Brandon, Mateo, Gia, and Lucas. Thank you, Dad, for creating this wonderful family and for allowing me to become a part of it. May you now rest in peace. Thank you, colleagues.
They'll be all members. Joe, we're all with you and your family. Members, I also like to ask we adjourn in memory of John Oxheimer. That's the father of Jody Oxheimer from our CAO's office. John grew up in the Coachella Valley after being born in Ohio, came west. And can you imagine being in the Coachella Valley in 1954 when there was nothing there but that old highway? He was a great athlete there at Coachella Valley High and received a scholarship to Pepperdine when Pepperdine was down on Vermont Avenue, and played for Pepperdine. And as that has furthered his education, and graduated in 1959 and went on to get a master's at what was to be Cal State Dominguez Hills. While working at Kaiser Hospital, he met the love of his life, Karen, his wife, for over 39 years. They lived in the Redondo Beach area until he retired to Palm Desert in 2000, where they enjoyed spending time together with their golf and family. John was much loved. He had a great spirit. He fought cancer, bravely fought cancer. He is loved by all who have met him and had a pleasure of knowing him. He is survived by his wife Karen, his children Jody, husband Mike Jorgensen, Chris Yochtheimer and his wife Bernice, who are both DWP employees, and grandchildren, and much loved person. So I ask we adjourn in memory of John Yochtheimer. Seeing no other business before us, this meeting is adjourned. Every day's a blessing.